Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to Farming Simulator 2017, and welcome back to Maplewood Farm. So, as you can see, we've got ourselves a slurry sprayer. We got the Abbey, of course, it's a UK farm, so we got the Abbey. And I've mentioned this before, but I don't know if I've shown it to you. This is the buyable slurry tap. It's a placeable mod, you can put it anywhere, and then you just buy slurry from it. To keep things fair and realistic, I typically put it at the animal market, and that's where this one is. So let's hop in here and I will tell you what's going on. So we're plowing these fields. No, there we go. We're plowing these fields down here. Field 50, well, I guess this is 50. 52, this field right here, this one, this big one over here, and eventually field 54 and 57. We're gonna plow these from meadow grass into crop grass. We did this one right here. We already seeded it. I plowed this one, but I have not seeded it yet. And 52 we have plowed and we have it half sprayed with slurry. So we're going to spray the rest of our slurry on it. And then we are going to, there we go. We're going to seed it. Yeah, we're going to spray the rest of the slurry. We're going to seed it and then we'll see how we're doing on time. And I made a mistake. Well, I've made a bunch of mistakes, but the one that I made most recently was the field that we seeded with grass is kind of the quickest way to get back to the farm and the animal cell point, which is where our slurry tap is. So that means to get to the field that we're working on today, we are going to have to drive around the map, which will only take a couple minutes, and I can sort of bring you up to speed on other things that are going on in gaming, which I've realized I sort of do in almost all of my videos. I just talk about gaming in general and sim gaming. So yeah, man, I guess that's what the channel is evolving into. So I can tell you that Lancyboi's other map, so this map that we're on right now, Maplewood, this is a Lancyboi map. Lancyboi's other map that was kind of a surprise called Thornbrook, I am playing that, getting further and further into it, really enjoying that as well. And then we're going to keep Lone Oak and what's the other one? Herman's Eck. We're going to keep those going as well. And we've got, when we're getting into October, we're not too far off from FS19, but I saw a really interesting comment somebody left, and they said, when FS19 comes out, there's not going to be any mods for a couple of months. So it's not like on day one, you know what I mean? It's not like on day one it's going to be this really super great playable game. I mean, it could be. And I'm sure all the new stuff that's included in FS19 is going to be fun to check out. But if you think about FS17, it came with Goldcrest and Sosnovka. And, I mean, they were good. They were good maps, but they weren't, you know what I'm saying? It took, well, like the comment said, a month or two before the game really started coming into its own. And I think we can all admit, I think we can all be realistic about the fact that mods make this game. I don't know that I would like this game nearly as much if it was just base game. And I think one of the challenges that the mod makers have always had is it's like they have two types of audience, right? They have two types of farm simulator fans. And one is adults that like to play the game super realistic and just make it as challenging and as almost as difficult as possible, right? And then the other market they have is kids that just want to sandbox it. And the thing about running a business and making money is you can't ignore any potential market. You have to, you gotta sell things. You gotta sell copies of your game. So I think it's really cool that this game in its basic form, like right out of the box, it is kind of a kid's game, and I know kids love it, but the mod makers allow it to be really something very different than, I guess, the game developers intended it to be. And that's a really cool thing. But for those of us that do like to make the game very difficult and challenging, right out of the box, it's not always the most fun. So we've got, I don't know, 7 weeks on paper until FS19 is out, but it's probably going to be, like, I'm sure if I still have 4 maps going when FS19 is released, I'm sure I will wind down 1 or maybe 2 of them, and we'll start doing FS19 at least once, probably twice a week. And we'll keep that going until some mods do come out, and then we'll just go from there. But it's not going to be like on the day the game is released, that's just it for FS17, because FS19 could be awesome on day 1. But I think that was a very good comment, and I think it will be at least a few weeks, probably more like a couple of months, till it gets up to its full potential once the modders get their grubby little mitts on it and start making all kinds of mods. And I'm also curious whether there will ever be a time where the mods from the previous version of the game can be used in the next one. Sort of like Euro Truck, where every time the game patches up, the mods get a little bit broken. But if you swap a couple things around, you can generally get them working again. Versus FS17 to FS19, it's a little bit more comprehensive to convert something over. Now, where's my turn? Here it is. And let's go third person. You know what's funny? Is the key command on my controller, on my gamepad, to go third person in Euro Truck is the key command in Farm Sim to make you jump out of the tractor. And I always have to remember that, because you know what I'm saying? If I do it wrong, we just throw ourselves out of the tractor, and that ain't cool. So, to the left, you can see a field that we plowed, sprayed with slurry, and then seeded with grass. And then to the right, you can see a field that we plowed, and it's half slurried. So we're going to apply the other half, then we're going to park this 6R that we're in, and our grass drill is right down there in the other field. You can see it, top of the screen. So we'll go hop in that, and we'll get some grass planted in here, and that will, we're already at almost 8 minutes, so that could take us just about to the end of the episode. And if we have any extra time, I will take you over and show you that other great big field that I plowed. That took a while, because the lost episode. The thing about converting a meadow to a field when it comes to courseplay is, because this wasn't a field like from the jump, courseplay doesn't always recognize the boundaries. So there are times when you have to do, like, everything that we ever do in this field we'll have to do manually or with GPS. We'll never be able to use courseplay because courseplay can't see the edge of the field. Now there is a workaround where you can actually drive the edge of the field and record those waypoints and use that to, like, mark the boundary of the field. But courseplay, in my experience, has always kind of struggled with those things. Like, it really wants to determine the outside of the field on its own, and if you try to plug it in manually and give it something to work with, it doesn't always work. So, not a bad thing, but I had to do that other field manually, and it was very, very big. So, that's done at least. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We have 3 of our 5 fields plowed. Hit them with the ripper. And we've got 1 of them spread with slurry and seeded, and then the other one we're spreading slurry on it now, spraying slurry on it now, and yeah, we'll just work through it. I'll probably finish up this evolution of these fields off camera, but I did want to show you sort of what is involved in converting a meadow to an arable field and then planting it with grass. Now, we can plant these with anything we want. The thing about having grass as a crop is we don't need to plow it up again. We can hit it with a cultivator and it will take out the grass and nothing else. And you can run the cultivator right up to the edge of the field, and it will only remove what's in the plantable area of the field. It won't damage the grass or the verge or the headlands or anything. So if we do decide that we want to convert these to arable crop at some point from crop grass, we can do that more easily than plowing them up again. We won't have to plow them again, unless we want to plow them to get that 10% buff, but that's optional. So the thing that I like about the buyable slurry, maybe this is cheating, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not very realistic, but I figure if there's an animal dealer, they're going to have a lot of stock waste. And one of the things that you do with stock waste is you use it to fertilize fields. So I don't think there's anything unrealistic about having the slurry tap installed at the animal market and buying slurry. But what's great about it is it's almost too cheap. I think it's 800 pounds to fill this thing, which may be a very accurate number in real life, but compared to probably 2,000 or 3,000 for fertilizer to spray a field of this size, it's quite a savings. And when you use slurry or hard manure, because we're running the manure mod, if you use slurry or hard manure on a field and then cultivate it in or plow it in, you get a double layer. So for 800 pounds, we'll be able to put the equivalent of about 5,000 pounds of fertilizer on this field. So that's, you know what I mean? Maybe that's cheating. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't necessarily see it that way, but I at least try to keep it, you know, by putting that placeable slurry tap, by putting it at the animal market, and you can put it in the middle of a field. I think I've mentioned this before in other episodes. You can put it, it's placeable. You can put it anywhere you want. Fill up as many times as you want. But I feel like putting it at the animal market is fair. So anyway, that's what we're doing. And I did go with the Abbey. It's a little bit small. There's some bigger ones, but I feel like this is very much at home on this type of map. It fits in, it looks right. And I also realized from reading some of the thread on FS UK that the equipment that I'm using on Maplewood is probably a little on the big side. And even though we're only in 6 Series and 7 Series tractors, when I was reading some of the comments from people about what kind of equipment they would like to run on Maplewood or what kind of equipment they felt was appropriate, it was a lot smaller than this. And so I feel like even though this equipment for me is it's maybe a little bit on the small side of what I would normally use. I like 7 Series and 8 Series. It's not drastically bigger. It's not drastically smaller. It's right about in the area of what I prefer. But to read that it is probably too big for these fields and this map. I mean, I know the equipment that we have is a little bit cumbersome on some of the roads. The roads are super, super narrow and tight. But to read people saying like, oh, you know, I would want to go with vintage equipment or I would want to go with really, really small stuff, I feel like we went a little bit too big. And I sort of knew that because it is hard to get around. But at the same time, it's not that big that I feel like we need to sell it all and replace it. I think we can go ahead and keep what we've got, and that'll be workable. It'll be doable. And what else is going on? Oh, I got a game called Dakar 18, which is it's kind of a weird thing. It's a little bit like Euro Truck. It's a little bit like WRC7. It's a little bit like Wreckfest. It's a little bit like a lot of things. And the hotel room that I'm in right now has a great big TV. So when I was setting up my rig, oh, perfect. Look at this. Really? Oh, that could not have worked out better. Fantastic. When I was setting everything up, I just went ahead and ran HDMI from my gaming laptop to this great big TV. Well, when I fired up Dakar 18 this morning, it downloaded overnight. When I fired it up this morning, I was getting 30 FPS. And so I backed some of the settings off. Initially, it had me, all settings were on Epic. And I don't know if it does that by default or if it took a look at my setup and my graphics card and concluded that that's what I could run. But regardless, when I got into the game, I was at 30 FPS. I'm going to do an episode of Dakar 18, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my impressions of that game when we get to it. But I was surprised. So I backed some of the settings down, and we stayed at 30 FPS. So I was a little, you know, okay. So I finished up with that, and I knew I needed to record Farm Sim. So I went ahead and hopped in here and did some of my prep work off camera, like spraying slurry on the first half of this field and various and sundry. And I noticed that we were also at 30 FPS when we should be at 60. So I was really confused by that, and don't know if you've ever heard of Columbo. Columbo was a TV detective, like way back in the old days. And his thing was, if you want to figure something out, you need to see what is there that wasn't there before, or what was there before that's gone now. So I did that, and the only thing that I could come up with was that HDMI cable. So let's take a look here. I think, set the brake, I think I'm going to rotate this around because the way we had the slurry set up, that was about the longest axis of this field. So let's just set this up parallel to that, right? Doesn't need to be exact. And I would like to start, you know what? Let's start from the top. I was thinking we could start from the bottom and work our way up as this thing gets empty, but it's really not heavy enough that I think we would need to empty it to be able to move around in this field. And the drill that we have on the back, it's listed under cultivators in the store. It's part of the Kuhn DLC, and it is, it's a cultivator, but it will also seed grass. Check it out, yeah? So what's different, right? Like what's going on now in my machine that wasn't going on before? And the only thing that I could come up with was that HDMI cable. So I shut it down, pulled the cable out, and restarted, and everything came up just fine. So I think what may have been happening is the HDMI cable was reading a signal from the TV and was sort of configuring my graphics card accordingly, at least for that session. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but I was a little bit kind of weirded out by that because it's been a while since I've really, but oh no, there we go. It's been a while since I was gaming below 30 FPS. I'm really fortunate to have a gaming laptop and to be able to have higher FPS with good settings. I really do feel very fortunate about that because that has not always been the case. So it was weird to think like, oh no, you know, what if something's like dreadfully wrong and I'm going to be locked in at 30 FPS forever? But it was, yeah, that was kind of a weird experience. But I did get everything sorted out, and I think it was the HDMI cable. So if anything similar ever happens to you, pull the cable, restart, and see if that doesn't help. Now, in the interest of like considering every possibility, I'm also going to see when we fire up Dakar 18 again that it wasn't that, because I had the HDMI cable and Dakar 18. That was the first place I noticed it. Shut the machine down, pulled the HDMI, and then restarted, right? So there's two things that were different. One is HDMI was pulled, and the other is we weren't running Dakar 18. So that'll be the real test to see that there's not something going on with that game that was reconfiguring my card, although that seems pretty unlikely. I think the HDMI cable makes more sense as a solution, but we'll find out. We will find out. And I think, let's see how we're doing on time. We're at 20 minutes. So let's go, I don't know, let's go another 5 or 10 minutes and then we'll call it. Because at this point we're just seeding. And we might be able to finish in 10 minutes. Probably not, because we need to come back and do all these odd rows. But yeah, man, this is a cool drill. In the past, I've typically only ever used it for cultivating because I rarely plant grass as a crop. But yeah, that's what it'll do. And I think it will also plant maybe oilseed radish. Don't quote me on that. Oh, too far. And that's something else that I rarely do is cover crops. And I feel like I should do more of that. I feel like that's more of a legit farming practice that I just don't You know, as realistic as I try to be, I feel like I'm not 100% realistic. Save game, autosave, thank you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is that all about? Okay, that was weird. I locked in the hubs and it took off to like 30 miles an hour. Easy, John Deere, easy. So, get this going. There you go. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. So we will have a total of the 5 grass fields that we owned down here, and we're going to convert them over to crop grass, which will theoretically double our yield. Well, it'll take it to 190%, which is the better part of double. And by doing that, we will essentially have the yield of 10 fields. Too far. Too far. We will essentially have the yield of 10 fields in the space of 5 fields and also in the time of 5 fields. The only thing that's different, we will have to fertilize. You can't fertilize meadow grass, so we were saving that step of fertilizing 3 times. So we will have to fertilize, but we will double our yield. And I feel like on this map, you know, I'm trying to do the economics in my head, and I feel like grass as silage, once again, as it does on so many maps, is going to save us. So I need to make my turn a little earlier here because we're making more than a 180-degree turn. Oh, into the hedge again. I'm a menace today. So today is Sunday. I recorded several videos yesterday. They're going to post today and tomorrow. And then I'm recording farm videos today, and they will post on Tuesday. And then Wednesday will be Spin Tires Mud Runner, and I will also do my very best to have up an episode of Dakar 18. And you can let me know what you think of it. It's different. I don't even know what I think of it yet. I don't want to say anything bad about it until I've really dug into it a little bit, but at the moment it's different. I'll have to play it a little bit and see what I can figure out. And I just keep going wide into the hedge, which is going to get trickier down here as we get into these tight little corners. You know what, let's do one more and then we'll... Yeah, let's do this one. Now, how do we want to do this? I want to go here. How are we doing on time? 23 minutes. Okay, we got a couple minutes. So, if I cut this across here... I hate driving across areas that I've already seeded. So, back this up. Back on GPS. Drop the tool. Here we go. And we'll just fill these gaps in all the way up. And see how we're doing when we get up to the top of the piano keys here. And then, of course, I'll have to do a couple headlands, but that's not a big deal. And we're doing great as far as the volume of seed that we're using. I think we're at 60%, and we're well over half done with this field, so we should be, hopefully, well, I take that back. We're half done with the lengths. We still have to do the headlands, but I think we'll be okay. I think we will. So, let's back this up a little bit. Back on GPS. Drop the tool. Here we go. Yeah, those places like right there to our left where we started fairly far in. I'll have to go back and fill those in manually. But I think we're making good time. And depending on how many lengths we have done when we get to 30 minutes, I might go ahead and knock out the headlands as well and just finish everything on camera. Go. How many we got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And what I might do, yep. What I might do is go down to the bottom of the field, the lowest part of the field, start our headland there, since we have sort of two lengths side by side. You'll see what I mean when we get down there, but that might be a way to do it. These headlands are going to be, I have those big places that I missed. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. That, beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever happens, happens, because we're sort of committed now. All right, this is going to work. I think it's going to work. I always think that, right up until it doesn't work. There you go. Okay. So, well, we're going to have to do two headlands regardless because of these, some of the ends of these lengths come in so far. So, yeah. Oh man, I hate to do the, like I'm icing a cake technique where you just drive around until you've covered every possible area of the field. But sometimes it's really the only way to do it. Nope. So. So we got these two. How are we doing on seed? 48%. Okay, I think we'll definitely be all right because we're nearly done with the entire like center volume of the field. We just have a couple lengths in the headlands and we've got half a tank of seed, so I think we'll be okay. And then when we're done here, I'll check we'll look at the map and see if cultivating in that slurry that we sprayed counted as double. I'm almost positive it I'm almost positive it did, and it will, but we'll check anyway. Alright, so then we back this up. GPS, drop the tool. And I think I'm going to do two headlands, and the first one will be, I don't want to say far in, but it'll be like one width in from the perimeter of the field, and hopefully that will catch all those ends where I didn't take the row down far enough. And then the second headland will be right up against the edge of the field. Okay. We'll give it a try. See how we do. So now, okay. Okay, but we've got a fence in the way, so I need to do a kind of a big turn here. I can't go to the right because of that gate, so I'm going to have to go to the left and then back in a little bit. That's all right. So, not very realistic. Sometimes you'll have that. Okay. There's something that is, I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with it or it's bad or anything, but the way that this tool is set up, the actual cultivating function of it, seems like it's almost a little bit wider than the seeding function. So if you're not careful, you can cultivate yourself some gaps. So, yeah, we do need that for one more thing, and then we'll turn the GPS off. So let's get down around here. How are we doing on time? 31 minutes. Perfect. This will be like a 35-minute video, and that's right in my wheelhouse. So I think, yep, see what I want to do. It's going to be close. I may have to do a third headland off camera because these are just so far out. Unless I fix them manually right now. Let's do that. And unfortunately, you got to go all the way to the end with this because if I lift in the middle, it'll leave big gaps from that. From the, which one is it? Is it this one? It's this one. It'll leave big gaps from the, I guess, the cultivator part of the tool staying down a little bit longer. It's like the seed part lifts first, so you can end up like unseeding parts of the field. I know, this is not realistic. It's my OCD is just having a fit right now, but I'm not sure how else to fix these. So that. Now I gotta turn around. Can we turn around in this little space right here? And we've already driven on the field so many times, I suppose it doesn't much matter, but I would at least like to try to be realistic. Turn in this little corner back here. So we're going to finish this last length down here, and we're going to transition from that directly into a headland. And I think that'll be it. Okay. GPS off. And yeah, I can't really get in far enough to get every last little bit of that, but I'll go back and finish it off camera, get all the places that we missed badly. Right, so here. Here. Now suddenly we're running out of seed very quickly, so I hope we have enough to finish. If not, I will definitely do that off camera. So doing good there. And then we're going to come in here. And about right there. Yep. Autosave, thank you. So, yeah, those are just too far in. I'll have to do those manually. I know, it's really bugging me, but nothing can be done about it. At least without being really tedious and just getting in there and fixing them manually. So, nope, we still got to do 2. And I realize this seems like we're calling it a headland, but I'm essentially driving over something that's already been seeded. It's kind of an odd headland, but I'm just trying to get rid of these bare patches that I left. So I think I don't really need this, but we'll just use it as a bit of a guide here. There. Right here. And I'm thinking now we are going to run out of seed, but that's okay. Just something else to finish off camera. Not a big deal. And those aren't too bad. You know what? I might even leave those as just little reminders of I don't know, something you want to be reminded of. All right, so we come around here. Don't hit the gate. Come around here. Lift up. And then we'll go right down this side, and that'll be it. More or less. Okay. 85 liters of seed left. Will we make it? Yeah, you know what? Let's leave those little mist bits in the field. Instead of going back in and going over areas that we've already seeded a third time, let's just leave those. Okay. 70 liters. Are we going to make it? I don't think we are. It's going to be close, though. $65. Oh, it's going to be so close. 60. Maybe. Yeah, maybe we will. Okay. It's 50. Oh, wow. Okay. There's 40. Okay. There you go. There you go. Okay. With 30 liters to spare. Perfect. And I guess I could have also planned my headlands a little better so that we ended up near the gate. That's one of those things that, in a perfect world, when the plan works out, that sort of thing happens, but my plan doesn't always work out. Right here, right about there. Set the brake, we'll leave it running. And if we go to soil composition, yep, we're right here. And it looks like we did get a second coat of fertilizer from one layer of slurry, and then we cultivated it in. Folks, thanks for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Farming Simulator 2017 from Maplewood Farm. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.